In North Africa in the 16th century, English privateer Solomon leads his crew into a battle to defeat the Ottoman defenders who have taken over a town. A fierce battle ensues on the streets, and Solomon showcases his exceptional fighting skills, killing enemies mercilessly. Eventually, they reach the castle, and the defenders quickly close the door, trying to escape. However, Solomon's team promptly blows up the entrance. As flames spread through the corridors, Solomon gazes at the bodies until he finds a soldier still alive and threatens him until the man reveals the location of the throne room. Before leaving, Solomon shoots him dead. The group moves into the throne room and finds it filled with mirrors. As the men proceed inside, demons emerge from the glass to attack and kidnap some of the warriors, dragging them into the mirrors. The crew is terrified, but Solomon urges them to keep going. When one man tries to flee, Solomon shoots him. At that moment, a door opens at the back, revealing the throne. Solomon enters, and the door closes behind him, leaving his crew outside. He hears a strange noise but ignores it to grab the treasure. Nearby, the body of the king starts freezing, and Solomon checks his breath, confirming the temperature has dropped. As a chill overtakes the room, shadows emerge from the statues, surrounding Solomon. Suddenly, the shadows gather at the throne and reveal a demon known as the Devil's Reaper, who strikes Solomon with his power, making him fall. The Reaper explains that he has come to take Solomon's soul because of his life of murder and greed, striking Solomon again for talking back before summoning a fiery sword. Then the Reaper tries to slash Solomon, who stops the blade with his own swords and announces he isn't ready for hell. Solomon dodges the Reaper's attacks in quick succession and escapes by jumping through the window. 1 year later in England, Solomon is living in a monastery. He has renounced violence and donated his wealth to the church as part of cleansing his soul to find redemption and avoid hell. Solomon has also covered his room with eerie notes and gotten a bunch of tattoos that protect him from demon attacks. One afternoon, a priest explains that since Solomon moved in, he has felt a shadow growing over them, and last night a prophetic dream revealed Solomon must leave the monastery. A devastated Solomon makes his way out, not knowing where to go. He begins wandering aimlessly across the countryside during winter, witnessing scenes like plague doctors burning the contagious and townspeople hanged in rows as punishment. One day, a cart carrying the Crowthorne family passes by and offers him a ride, but Solomon declines. Later that day, Solomon stops to rest and hears whispering. Suddenly, he's captured from behind by a man with a knife. 2 more men emerge and hit Solomon a couple of times before checking his bag, finding no money. When they find papers full of symbols, they assume he's a sorcerer and place him near the fire, saying they should burn him like a witch. Solomon resists but does not defend himself, so the thieves hit him again until he passes out. A flashback reveals that Solomon grew up as the son of an important lord. Because he was the second son, his father wanted him to become a priest while his brother Marcus took over the lands. Solomon refused and ran away from home, so his father disinherited him. The thief suddenly appears in the flashback, and Solomon wakes up to find himself in the cart with the Crowthorns. The family promises he's safe with them, and soon they stop to camp for the night. Solomon should be resting, but he volunteers to help. First, he washes up, and the children stare at his tattoos. Later over dinner, Solomon shares stories about the people who hired his crew to fight for them. The daughter, Meredith, finds the tales exciting, but her older brother calls her out for supporting violence. Then the father, William, mentions he used to be part of the Queen's army until he found his faith. Killing used to be hard for William, but Solomon admits it came easy to him. That night, Solomon dreams of his childhood again. When he was leaving his father's lands, Solomon found Marcus trying to take advantage of a girl, slapping her to keep her quiet. Solomon tried to stop him and drew a knife, but Marcus easily overpowered him and cut his cheek. Then Marcus took Solomon to the edge of a cliff, pushing him as he told him to leave. Solomon pushed back, and Marcus tripped over a rock, causing him to fall off the cliff. In the present, Solomon wakes up and joins William by the fire. William shows him a locket with pictures of his wife and daughter, then explains his family will be sailing to the New World to start over. He invites Solomon to come along, but Solomon explains his soul is damned and the family shouldn't want him around. For the next few days, Solomon continues to travel with the Crowthorns, and Meredith makes some new clothes for him. One afternoon, Meredith's younger brother Samuel asks Solomon to show him some sword moves, so Solomon does some basic training using sticks. At that moment, they come across a burned town and decide to investigate. There are bodies with burned eyes everywhere, and William blames it on the devil, but Solomon finds a pyre and realizes the townspeople failed to burn a witch. Meredith notices some movement and finds a girl still alive among the bodies. The child is taken to their camp, and she confirms that the townspeople tried to burn a witch, but the fire didn't hurt her. The witch killed all the locals and burned their eyes for watching her burn. The Crowthorns want to pray for the dead, and the girl furiously refuses, so Solomon gets suspicious. He takes a cross from the family and tries to give it to the child, who turns to Meredith and says, "It's you we want." The girl is actually the witch, who puts a strange mark on Meredith's hand before her eyes change. She jumps on Solomon to attack him, saying the devil is waiting for him. Solomon pushes her off, and the witch reveals her true form, failing another attack before transforming into birds to escape. In a nearby town, violent cultists are attacking the locals and putting them in cages for their master, the sorcerer Malachi. They're led by a masked rider, who rewards the men by touching their faces and transferring some power. The men's eyes change, and the rider's hand leaves burn marks on their skin, but now they're more powerful. Meanwhile, the Crowthorns are setting up camp, and Solomon examines the mark on Meredith's hand but doesn't recognize it. In the evening, Samuel wakes Solomon, saying he's heard strange noises. Solomon goes to check and discovers Malachi's cult kidnapping more people. With Solomon away, the cultists easily surround the camp and kidnap the family, overpowering William when he tries to defend himself. They notice the mark on Meredith's hand and announce she's the one, which the masked rider approves of. Soon Solomon arrives, and Samuel asks him to kill them all, but instead, Solomon tries to negotiate for the family's freedom. The masked rider uses his magic to speak through one of his men, asking Solomon to kill him. Solomon refuses because he's a man of peace, and the thug immediately kills Samuel. A devastated Solomon finally decides to abandon his oath of peace, saying he'll gladly go to hell in exchange for killing such monsters. Solomon furiously begins fighting the killer, easily disarming him and stabbing him with his own knife. As some cultists try to fight him too, the others take Meredith away. William tries to help her, only to get stabbed by two men, and soon his older son is killed as well. An even angrier Solomon decapitates another cultist and keeps on fighting, killing any man who dares to oppose him. While he's distracted, the masked rider and most of his group leave with Meredith on their horses, so Solomon isn't fast enough to follow them. Afterward, Solomon checks on William, who makes him swear an oath to rescue Meredith. William says that if Solomon saves Meredith, his soul will be saved as well. Then William dies, and his wife gives Solomon the locket for his search. Before leaving, Solomon takes some weapons and a horse from the cultists and notices the dark power leaving their bodies. As he rides through the forest, some cultists come out of hiding and start chasing him. Solomon takes out two guns and shoots both men simultaneously. Then he catches up to a group on the road, quickly killing all the bad guys with precise strikes of his sword. Next, Solomon opens the cage with the victims and shows them the locket, asking about Meredith. Sadly, none of them saw her before. A few miles from there, the cultists raid and burn down another town. Meredith is in a cage and tells the other victims to stay calm while the masked rider stares at them. 3 days later, Solomon sees many people walking away from another destroyed town, trying to find a new home. He decides to ride to the ruins and rest at an abandoned church. When he starts praying, he is suddenly startled by a man, so he draws his sword. However, it's just Father Michael, who never left his church. He explains he's seen terrible things and confirms the cultists destroyed the area. Their master, Malachi, is a servant of the devil, but nobody has ever seen him because he hides in his castle. The cultist victims are made soldiers or slaves depending on their strength. Suddenly, Solomon hears a noise, so Michael opens a hatch in the ground to reveal a bunch of ghouls hidden underground. Solomon can't believe Michael didn't destroy them, but the priest explains these used to be his parishioners. Malachi's curse changed them, so Michael doesn't think it's right to kill them for something that wasn't their fault. He also admits he feeds them before pushing Solomon into the hole and closing the hatch. The ghouls immediately surround Solomon and prepare to eat him, but Solomon takes out his sword and starts killing them. Some of the ghouls feed on their dead fellows while others continue to attack Solomon, whose torch helps him keep the ghouls at bay. In the church, Michael tries to listen to what's happening, only for someone to suddenly come in and attack him. Down in the tunnel, a ghoul jumps on Solomon's back, so he pushes it against the wall to hit it. This creates a hole, so Solomon throws the ghoul away and makes the hole bigger to escape. As he runs through a narrow tunnel, the ghouls try following him, so Solomon uses his torch to keep them away and tosses debris on the ground to block them. When he's about to reach the exit, A ghoul tries attacking him, but Solomon kills him in seconds. Two more ghouls show up and start chasing him, so Solomon runs to the exit and breaks the wood to get to the surface. The ghouls try following him, but the light burns them, so they rush back inside. Then Solomon is surrounded by the thieves from before, who drop Michael's head. All three of them have agreed to work for Malachi, and now hold power too. However, they still don't know how to use it, and it's very easy for Solomon to fight them, bringing them down one by one in just a matter of minutes. Then he threatens to throw one of them to the ghouls while showing him the picture of Meredith, demanding to know where she is. The thief says the girl is dead, and Solomon freaks out, hitting the guy before letting the ghouls take him. Sometime later, Solomon makes it to a town and goes to a tavern to get drunk, hoping to forget his troubles. At that moment, he's approached by some members of his old crew, who wants Solomon to be their captain again. However, Solomon refuses because he has nothing to fight for. Later, in the middle of the night, a group of men surprises Solomon while he's asleep and captures him. The next morning, two guys are crucified for defying Malachi while the masked rider watches. Soon, Solomon is brought over too, and the rider orders his men to crucify him as well. Unlike the other guys, Solomon doesn't scream, thinking he's earned it. Once Solomon passes out, the masked rider rides away with his group. At the back of the caravan, they bring the slave cages, which include Meredith, alive and well. She sees Solomon on the cross and starts yelling his name, causing him to wake up and discovers she's fine. A desperate Solomon begins pulling his hands from the nails and unties the rope, falling to the ground. The cultists surround him and prepare to kill, only for Solomon's old crew to show up and fight them instead, defeating them in seconds. In the evening, Solomon wakes up on a bed in a hideout, where a healer is taking care of his injuries. Solomon tells her to leave him alone before he removes the bandage and notices the scars left by the nails. After confirming he can still use his hands, Solomon starts packing to leave, and a crew member tells him he should wait until he's fully healed. Solomon reacts violently, so the others stop him, explaining that they are willing to fight with him to defeat Malachi. Over dinner, the group shares more of Malachi's background. He used to be a priest and a healer, but he sold his soul to the devil for power. The masked rider follows Malachi's orders, and rumors say he has no face under the mask. Solomon points out they must kill the rider first to leave Malachi vulnerable, and the group tells him the enemy's base is Exmouth Castle, which shocks Solomon because that's where he grew up. The crew informs him the lord of the castle died, so Solomon becomes even hungrier for revenge and orders everyone to get ready. Sometime later, Solomon and the crew sneak onto the castle grounds through a hidden tunnel that Solomon remembered from his childhood. The witch from before appears on a balcony and throws a skull at the same time Solomon throws his sword, killing her. The skull shatters on the ground as an alarm, and tons of cultists come out to start a fight. As men begin to die all over the place, the masked rider also comes out and starts killing the crew one by one. Solomon rushes to stop his attack and tells his men to run and hide since they can't win this. As the crew gets away, Solomon fights the rider, who soon pushes Solomon back, and he uses the chance to hide behind a door, locking it so he can't be followed. Afterward, Solomon sneaks through the corridors, hiding whenever the cultists pass by. Eventually, he makes it to the dungeon, and when he's about to free the slaves, a cultist appears behind him. Solomon quickly kills him, and then uses his keys to open all the cells. Unfortunately, Meredith isn't among the prisoners. One man is left behind, and when Solomon checks on him, he's shocked to discover it's his father. The desperate Solomon struggles with the chains, but his father explains they can't be broken because they were made with dark magic. Solomon finally apologizes for Marcus's death, but his father reveals Marcus never died. The boy had survived the fall but was terribly wounded and wouldn't wake up. Doctors and priests didn't know what to do, so the father hired a sorcerer. Marcus woke up but was taken over by darkness, and he only obeyed the sorcerer's orders. The wounds on his face were so bad that he started wearing a mask. It turns out Marcus is the masked rider, and the sorcerer who brought him back was Malachi, who took all the Lord's money as payment. The father feels extremely guilty about this, so he takes Solomon's gun and asks for an end. Crying, Solomon shoots his father to free him from his pain. In another tunnel, the crew is holding back the cultists with fire and crossbows, but they won't be able to stand for much longer. Solomon soon arrives, and after killing an enemy, he asks the crew to buy him just a few more moments to put an end to this. Next, he goes to the throne room and pounds on the closed door. At that moment, a bunch of cultists appear behind him, but before they can fight, the doors open. Solomon immediately goes inside and sees Meredith in a cage, who warns him this is a trap. On the throne, Malachi insults Solomon before using magic to disappear. Solomon decides to free Meredith, who again says this is a trap and that they marked her to make him come back to this castle. Suddenly, the masked rider stabs Solomon in the shoulder and throws him on the ground before starting a fight. Solomon refuses to fight his own brother and tries to use his words to make him see reason, but Marcus keeps on attacking, so Solomon has to defend himself. Both brothers are skilled swordsmen and don't manage to land a single hit on the other as they move all over the room. While they're distracted, Meredith escapes from the cage and hides. At that moment, Malachi returns and uncovers a huge mirror with a beastly demon inside. Getting more desperate now, Solomon continues to fight Marcus and finally manages to stab him. When Marcus grabs him by his neck, Solomon removes the mask to reveal the awful face, causing Marcus to drop him. Then Solomon throws a torch at Marcus to set him on fire, and with just a few more moves, finally kills him. At the same time, Malachi takes Meredith hostage and uses her blood on the mirror, causing it to release the demon. Solomon immediately starts running to dodge the beast's slow attacks, and he goes back to Malachi, telling him he can have his soul in exchange for Meredith. Malachi doesn't believe him and gets ready to kill Meredith, only for Solomon to shoot him in the head first. The sorcerer falls into the mirror and absorbs back the demon together with Solomon's soul, making him collapse. Meredith rushes to check on him, thinking he's dead, but suddenly Solomon wakes up. He remembers William's words and realizes he truly reached redemption by saving Meredith. The crew then shows up and explains all the cultists fell together, so the war is over. From then on, Solomon travels across the continents to fight monsters and protect the innocent. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for watching this. Thanks.